Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we are back to Kaladin in chapter 30, entitled Darkness Unseen. And this is an interesting chapter because we get a new point of view character. We get the point of view of the rascal, the scoundrel, the really not great person, Gaz, who's in charge of Bridge 4. And he's in charge of sending new slaves, new criminals or whatever into the bridges. And of course, he doesn't follow any protocols for Bridge 4. He sends them the worst of the worst, the leftovers. And Bridge 4, of course, is normally at the tip of the spear running onto these plateau runs. But it's an interesting perspective here, and something Brandon Sanderson does well. And you're going to pick this up the more we keep reading it. Obviously, at this point, he loves characters. And no character is monolithic, right? Every character has different shades, different reasons, different motivations. And we get a little glimpse into a little bit of who Gaz is in this conversation, in this chapter. What do we find them doing at the very beginning? Kaladin has now gotten the entirety of Bridge 4 to begin practicing and doing drills and running the bridges back and forth, working out, exercising together. He's finally got everyone on board, and they're out running, essentially back and forth, exercising, working out, and Kaladin is excited. But at the same time, they're still losing people. And Bridge 4 gets the leftovers, so they don't have a steady stream of people coming in. So Kaladin is continuously having to think of creative ways for Bridge 4 to continue to operate. So we'll get back to that towards the end of the chapter. But we get to kind of Gaz's perspective. And like any bully, there's always a bully above them. And the bully who is bullying Gaz around, as he is bullying Kaladin, is a lighteyes named Lamaril. Now Lamaril is a very, very low ranking lighteyes. And in fact, he is only about one non above the dark eyes. No, that's enough. And he has something on Gaz that he is blackmailing Gaz for. We don't get what it is in this chapter, but he has something on him. Well, we know that Gaz is blackmailing Kaladin in order to let him train with the men, go on chasm runs, not battle chasm runs, but go on rock duty and collect rocks and collect swords and stuff in the chasms. And we know that Kaladin's using that to collect a knobweed seed and sap in order to sell it to the physician and the apothecary in order to get money that he's using to buy stuff to make soup and to care for those who are hurt. So it's kind of all connected here. But Gaz is aware that Kaladin's actions are creating a little bit of a ruckus. People are taking notice of Bridge 4, and that's not helping Gaz, because if he starts to become the center of attention, giving hope to all these other bridges, who is Light Eye commanders, and heaven forbid, Sadeas himself, going to eventually become aware that there is something going on, and who gets blamed? It's going to be Gaz. So whatever Lamaril has over Gaz, we don't find out what it is, he is sure that Gaz does not injure or kill Kaladin. Why? Because Lamaril, though he's cruel, he knows Kaladin's getting a name for himself, and the last thing we need is to make him a martyr for the rest of the bridgemen. So whatever you do, keep him alive, and if he's gonna die, he needs to die on the battlefield, okay? Well, Gaz is really wanting to get a bunch of heat off of himself, so he'd be willing to kill Kaladin in a moment. But what else is he getting from Kaladin? He's getting money, bribes, so that they can keep doing their training. Gaz is using that bribe to pay off Lamaril. So he is really in a quandary. But we get a little inside view here of Gaz's mind when he's talking about the bridgemen finding a place in Sadeas's plan of just being human targets, to take the arrows away from the other soldiers. We get a little glimpse here. Look what he says. He says, Stormfather, I hate myself for being part of this. But he'd hated himself for a long time now. It wasn't anything new to him. I'll do something, he promised Lamoral. A knife in the night, poison in the food. I'll take care of him. And that's when Lamoral says, you will not take care of Kaladin. You will keep him doing his thing. But there, what is it that Gaz hates about himself and that he's hated for a while? We don't know, but we're going to find out. I trust in the future. Back over to Kaladin. He's got the men running routes. He's got them working. He's thinking through ways to carry the bridge better, to protect themselves better. This is all what he is mentally thinking through. How do I protect these men? And what he's furious about is that they're not allowed to carry shields. If they were allowed to carry shields, he would no doubt be training these men so that they could at least support the bridge on a shoulder with one arm to hold these outside shields to protect their bodies. But they're not allowed to. So he's got to be thinking really creatively. There's something else that he's done. He has deputized 4 individuals from Bridge 4. And he is calling them, I think he calls them sub-squad leaders. And again, he's just kind of making up these titles, but he's remembering back to when he was in Amran's army. And titles help to give a sense of ownership. And so who has he deputized? He's deputized Rock, he's deputized Teft, Scar, a man named Scar, and Moash. Now who is Moash? Moash is really one of the final men who got on board, who said, fine, I'll be part of this. And actually, he sends the 4 of them out to prepare the guys for rock crew to go out and collect rocks and the knobweed, right? And Moash hangs back. And he talks to Kaladin, and he says, why did you make me a leader of a sub-squad? And Kaladin says, because you resisted my leadership longer than any of the others, and you were flat out more vocal than any of them. Moash is shocked. So you give me a position of leadership? How does that make sense? He said, you're strong-willed, and I think you have what it takes to become a capable and intellectual leader. Moash has to sort of ponder this, but he does let him know, well, I don't trust you, Kaladin. I want you to know that. And he says, well, then why do you obey me? And Moash responds, I guess I'm curious. And he moves off to do what Kaladin told him to do. The chapter ends with Gaz noticing that Kaladin has been training the men to carry the bridge in a different way. He's been training them to reposition themselves, not so they're under the bridge, but so that they're all angled and holding the bridge at a side angle, sort of on one shoulder. And Gaz is very confused watching this. So he calls Kaladin over as the chapter ends, and we sort of get back to Gaz's point of view. He's like, what are you doing? Something we learned about Gaz earlier is that he's lost sight in one eye. The name of the chapter sort of alludes to that, Darkness Unseen. And I think Sanderson is a little hinting at something here. You may have picked up on it, you may not have picked up on it. But Gaz is sort of convinced that there's something beyond his field of vision that's sort of always in the darkness of his bad eye. And as the chapter ends, when he's talking to Kaladin, he says, we read, Gaz glanced to his side while he was speaking to Kaladin. Had something moved in the darkness? And Kaladin's like, Gaz, are you all right? And they sort of get back to it. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention. What is with that? What's Gaz thinking he sees? What presence is he feeling? We'll see. But as it ends, Gaz has an idea. Seeing Bridge 4 train with the bridge on their side, he's got an idea that what if they pulled a stunt like that on a bridge run? Maybe they're trying to block arrows, But what if they just did that themselves? What trouble would they get into? What may happen to the bridge leader, to Kaladin? Yes, Gaz says to himself. He smiled as Kaladin retreated. A disaster was exactly what he needed. Now he just needed to find some other way to pay Lamaril's blackmail. He likes this idea of Kaladin getting creative, because what bridgemen are not supposed to do is be creative. We'll see if his nefarious idea that he's going to try to encourage does anything. It's the end of chapter 30, The Darkness Unseen. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the read through. Let's continue on in the next video and in the next chapter. But until then, enjoy the story, and we'll get back together in the next video.